Good evening and welcome to Orkney International Science Festival and Foraging Fortnight online. My name is Eric Walker and it's my pleasure to be able to thank Ingrid Henderson and the other musicians for their performances of the wonderful music and singing accompanying the extracts from the forthcoming film called Message in a Bottle. And I love the animations, including the night sky map in the background, me being an amateur astronomer. The Orkney International Science Festival is having its 30th anniversary this year, and we are marking the occasion with our very first online festival. This year, we are delighted to be bringing a full and diverse festival programme directly to you wherever you are. I'd just like to briefly introduce my guest to you. Ingrid Henderson is involved in many aspects of traditional music. A Lochaber-based harper and pianist, Ingrid has over 25 years' experience performing, teaching, and recording traditional music. She is Principal Harp Tutor at the National Centre of Excellence in Traditional Music, Musical Director on the BBC Alba flagship Hogmanay Show, and Director at Old Laundry Productions, a studio music production company she runs with her husband and musical duo partner, Ian McFarlane in Glenfinnan. Katie Gillum has a degree in Oceanography and Marine Biology from the University of Southampton and is Nature Scots Head of Marine Ecosystems. She is leading Nature Scots' flagship initiative, the Year of Coasts and Waters, and she is doing it tonight from her home in Inverness. I think it's fair to say she's truly inspired by, and indeed also inspires, this wonderful commission and collaboration of live music. We now have the opportunity to chat with Ingrid and Katie, and if you have any questions or comments for them, please enter them in YouTube's live chat. They will be passed through to here by some mysterious interweb magic, and we can discuss them live as if you were all here yourselves. I absolutely loved those video clips and music. And before I get into any questions, there's a comment, and it comes from Howie Firth himself. It's beautiful music that blends with the sounds of the sea, and the combination of the sound and the images with the animations is something special. There are many comments that came in like that, so well done for that. So I'm perhaps going to start off with, how did you both become involved in this project, and what's the project all about?
Well, I'll maybe start on that one. Scottish Natural Heritage, as it was then, it's now, what are you now, Katie? That's terrible. Nature Scots, so that's the rebranding now, so I should really use that. Came to me in really the back end of 2018 with an eye on 2020, the year of Coast and Water, and trying to come up with something. And we threw a whole load of ideas around just to see which would stick, and then decided on this idea of Message in a Bottle, which takes in, I mean, the catalyst story came from actually a young boy in Northern Ireland who put a message in a bottle, sent it out to sea, like so many of us that lived in coastal towns did when we were younger, and, you know, maybe got a letter back afterwards. And anyway, this bottle bobbed around in the sea from Northern Ireland and washed up in Canada 10 years later. There are many stories like that. But our idea behind this was, you know, where did that bottle go? What did it see on the journey? What are the creatures that are in the water there? But it was to build to a bigger message about what's happening in our seas, what's happening with our marine life, what's our impact on that. So we were trying to figure out musically what could happen. You know, I come at it from a musical point of view, and then trying to see what the folk at Nature Scot wanted to say about, you know, what they're doing, and being able to tell people about all the projects that they're doing in their marine department, and all their amazing projects that are going on, which Katie is in charge of.
Yeah, Katie, do you want to elaborate on how you got involved in this?
Well, Ingrid got involved before I did actually in the project with colleagues of mine called Becky Shaw and Pete Moore. And I think that you've known each other for a while. The first time that I got really properly involved was Ingrid came over to the office in Inverness, and we had a day which we spent with various different colleagues in the marine team, just talking about the different projects that we were involved with. So a colleague of mine called Suze Henderson was talking to Ingrid about the basking shark tagging work that we've been doing off the west coast of Scotland. There were other colleagues who were talking to Ingrid about the seabird work that's been going on, some of the survey work that we've been doing on marine habitats and species, all of those kinds of things. I think you got a bit of a crash course into.
Oh, that was a fantastic day. I loved it.
It's really nice actually to there's a lot of work going on, and sometimes we focus a lot on kind of publishing that work in quite a sort of sciencey way, so we don't often sort of sit and chat to people in quite the way that we did that day. But it really I think was really enjoyable for the team as well to get the feedback and all the questions from Ingrid. And I remember particularly we started showing you pictures of like really highly magnified pictures of all the plankton. And just that was the first time I think that you'd sort of come across the sort of all the just huge variety of shapes that you get when you actually start to look down a microscope at all of that sort of stuff as well.
Well, that was incredible. Plankton became cool from that day onwards. Yeah, it was fantastic for me because, and I think part of this project is, as Katie says, there are amazing projects going on, but maybe Joe Public, and certainly I'm counting myself in that, I might not know about all the work that goes on. And the idea was that through music and art that we could highlight that amazing work that's going on and sort of bring it to a different audience, I guess.
Yeah, it was just beautiful. It just all just so fitted together. Katie, where was the film of the basking sharks actually taken?
So there's various different bits of film there, but most of the film was taken when there was survey work that was being done. We've been working with partners at University of Exeter for almost the last 10 years. It seems to have gone really quickly. And so there's been a variety of work that's been done. So a lot of the work has been around the Isles of Col and Tiree, but also going out to Skerryvore as well. So, there's been some fantastic opportunities to go out there. Most of the time, what they're trying to do is to put a variety of different tags on the basking sharks and to really understand more about the shark behaviour. Because before we started actually doing the survey work, we knew that lots of people were seeing sharks regularly off the west coast, but we didn't know things that we know now. So, for example, with some of the sharks that were tagged, those same sharks were coming back a year later to more or less the same locations. But also some of the other sharks were doing different things. Some of them were staying in Scottish waters. Some of them were going on holiday for the winter down to the Canary Islands and places like that.
Lucky ducks.
Yeah, exactly. Others are taking a longer route right around the coast of Ireland and things. So we just started to see this really interesting behaviour. And so it was on one of those trips, basically, when we were doing the tagging work, that we were also doing the filming underwater.
Yeah. Basking sharks have been in the news quite recently, if I remember rightly. Basking sharks, do they both feed and breed in Scotland, or just feed or just breed? What?
Yeah, so they definitely feed here, and it's one of the unanswered questions from the research work that we've been doing as to whether they breed. So when we've been out doing the tagging work, you can see the sharks carrying out behaviours that are courtship-like or breeding-like behaviours. So they'll swim, you'll see them swimming closely one behind the other, doing a nose-to-tail following, and that's often associated with breeding behaviour, but we haven't yet managed to capture them actually breeding. That maybe the work that you saw recently that was in the news was about a collaboration that we also did with Woods Hole Oceanographic Institute when they had their kind of robot cam that they actually attached to the sharks. And it was great. It's, a lot of the time we've seen sharks at the surface, and then we've also seen sharks that are swimming in mid-water, and that's when we assume they're doing a lot of feeding. But with this great piece of kit that Woods Hole brought across, we also saw sharks that are actually swimming really close to the bottom in behaviour that's never been filmed before. So yeah, we're still learning stuff each year.
They're maybe just modest, Katie.
Maybe they are.
Yeah. I've got a couple of questions on a technical point in actual fact. Seeing your second clip and the fourth clips, everybody seemed to be playing and performing in different locations. Did that actually happen?
Yeah, well, so this year, as everybody knows, has been like no other, and we all know that for different reasons. But we were supposed to be out touring this year and playing live, and of course, none of that has happened. So, with support of Nature Scott, we were trying to figure out how we could at least try and record a couple of clips for this, and also to exist up on YouTube thereafter, where we all play together. So the logistics of that are tricky, but we have a recording studio, myself and my husband Ian, in Glenfinnan here. So what we did was we got everybody, so Anna Massey's on guitar, Connell McDonough on pipes and whistle, and my sister Megan Henderson on fiddle and vocals. They, with instruction from Ian, who's a sound engineer as well, they recorded in their own locations. So I recorded a guide track down. They then play on top of what I've put down. And then it all comes back into the studio. We mix it all together. And then in order to record the visuals, we sent, well, some of them, I think Connell actually recorded his visuals at the same time as he was doing his sound. But the rest of us got the audio track back and then mined to it in our own place. And then poor Starley MacDonald, who was involved in most of the visuals for this whole piece, which the piece in its entirety is about an hour long, he had to marry everything together along with the visuals of the basking sharks and all the nature stuff as well. So yeah, it was quite a process to think around. But I think this year has been a challenge for most people trying to think around logistics. I mean, even the fact that we're here right now and trying to think around all the technical logistics of, right, we want to run our festival, how on earth are we going to do it? And I think that's been the hardest bit of this year, is just getting in the mindset of thinking around all those technical and logistical problems, because I am a humble musician and I just want to play my music and write my music and enjoy myself there. But yeah, we've had to work a lot at that.
Well, your humble musician colleagues have had plenty of compliments on this.
Yeah.
There's one here for Anna, how good she is on guitar, and the fella on the pipe, the sort of electric pipes or whatever they are.
They're fantastic.
And the singer, just absolutely beautiful.
Yeah.
And good, you know?
Yeah.
They're
a great squad to work with. I mean, I had worked with most of them in different projects. Not Connell, actually. Connell I had known because he was a student at the National Centre of Excellence in Traditional Music years ago. I mean, that's been running for about 20 years now. And it actually makes me feel really old when I can work with past students, you know, and I can't understand it because I'm still their age, but, you know. But no, they're great. They're fantastic to work with, as were Sorley MacDonald, who did the visuals. But Kat Bruce, I must mention, the animation is incredible. I mean, I had a short conversation with Kat Bruce about the overarching themes of the piece, and she worked with Nature Scott to, you know, look at basking sharks and look at a lot of footage they had, and she just got the concept beautifully. I mean, her animation is stunning. And that was another thing that was really interesting, I think, for all of us, was, you know, to learn how you do animation. It's so, well, I just think it's really difficult and technical, and it's incredible. That's just amazing how she captured the movement of all the creatures.
I was actually wondering if Katie, if you had an input into that, because see, when you watch that animation, there were so many different subjects. Yeah, the basking shark stood out, but there were different fish. There were heron, there were kids on the shore with a fishing net, somebody with a sextant. There was lots of very subtle Nature Scott type features in there. Katie, did you have an input into that?
Well, there were various people in the team who had input to different things. And so we did share with Kat different video clips that we'd taken on various different marine surveys that had been carried out. So there were things like, there were at one point you'd have seen these kind of white tubes with these kind of red sort of fan-like things coming out. That's serpulid reefs that we get in particularly, well, the best ones are in Loch Rhiren on the west coast there. So we'd shared video of that and video of other things like the flame shells, the bright orange bivalves themselves that you see as well. But actually, we've got to be fair to Kat. Kat picked up, most of it by herself. And, it's one of the things that Ingrid and I have talked about before. The thing that just blew me away right from the start, it's not just the movement of the animals, which she gets so nicely, but it's actually just the kind of light on the water and the way the light plays on the animals as they're moving, which those kind of things just immediately that you see that, you just think, oh yeah, she's got it. And you just believe that you're underwater, or you believe you're by the coast or whatever. Just the light throughout the whole thing is fantastic. So we're just really, really pleased with how that came together with the music that Ingrid did.
Oh, it was just beautiful. It had, had tones of Watership Down in it for me. I could have watched that for ages. Now, the time has passed very quickly, and I've got time for one more question, probably aimed at you, Ingrid.
Okay.
And it was, how does the process of composing this type of music for this type of thing, how do you go about that?
I mean, I think the hardest thing to do is to empty your brain of all the other stuff first. I hear a lot of people talking nowadays about, how important it is to, be out in the fresh air and sort of clearing your mind and all that. But I honestly think when you're writing music, your day to day, if you're teaching, you're, doing all the other work, you almost have to, which is impossible to do if you've got a family and but you almost have to empty all that out. And the way I went about it was I just went to the coast. I'm from Malaga originally, and, born and brought up out in the beaches at Mora. And that's where I went. And I wrote about, the place names up there that mean a lot to me on the coast. I went up to Skye. And then also I wrote about stories like, my background is very much in the Highlands and Gaelic language. And I love the idea of certain nature songs. We used, a lot of the elements that would have been used in sort of older nature poetry. But also when we were talking about the environmental impact, there's a thing in a lot of cultures called a lies song, where the song is all full of, it's really stupid and it's full of lies, and then it finally comes true at the end. But the lie in this song that I wrote was really about, it was like a kiddie's song. It was talking about, there's a fish down in that loch down near Arasig and it's drinking out of a Coke can. That's crazy, But actually the impact was, hold on a minute, that's actually going on. And there were loads of things like this, the gannet's building its nest out of that plastic, a net. Why would it be doing that? But then it's like, well, hold on, it is. So it was trying to marry up all sort of that background of my music with sort of new ideas, or ideas of what Nature Scott are working on and all the marine life. And so sometimes music would just come to me and I'd be able to write it really quickly. Sometimes it was a real struggle. Sometimes I would write wee bits, then I would sit with the other musicians and more of it would come. So it's a real, I wish I could say I had a brilliant formula and I did it the same way every time and I was really disciplined, but I'm not.
It wouldn't be the same with a formula, Ingrid.
No.
Well, that's been such an interesting, enjoyable and stimulating musical session and discussion. Thank you both, Ingrid and Katie. And also to everyone in the audience for participating. I've got to thank the technical team behind the scenes who work their wonders to bring this festival to you. Our next festival talk will be at 10 a.m. tomorrow morning, called Sailing on Stones, a tale of Neolithic mariners and their innovative application of nautical engineering. This will be presented by Dr. Mark Cooper of the University of Washington. I'd like you to take this opportunity to remind you that there are also still spaces available for the PD Kirk lunches this week, and also at our evening festival club table sessions. In fact, our next event is the Festival Club in just a few minutes at 9:30 p.m. And I want to invite you to it right now. I'm heading over there for a beer, a dram and a blether. And I'd love to see some of you there. It's really great fun. If you're enjoying the festival, please do like us on the Facebook page and follow our YouTube channel. But for now, good evening and goodbye.